Hello there. Welcome to Talking Balearics with me, Martin Makepeace, here in a melting Ibiza.
Likewise, me, Richie Pryor in Mallorca. Hello, Mark. How you coping? First of July, pinch punch.
Pinch punch and all that, mate. Yeah, is it hotter? Is Birmingham hotter than Mallorca this week? Rich, is it? Hang
on a minute. Where did I hear?
What was hotter? Was it Bognor Regis or something like that? Hotter than Ibiza?
Hotter than Barbados, I heard this week. Actually, do you know what I mean?
That British press love that headline, don't they?
Oh dear. Yeah, it's normally it's normally one of the red tops actually that normally goes with something like that. To be honest with you, yeah. Always a headline grabber, of course.
I mean, it's about 34 over here today, Rich, but it's often not the temperature, is it, the Balearics? It's the humidity, and the humidity, I think, is in the high 80s today. So it's we're melting, mate, as I said before on the intro.
Yes, we are, and God knows what it's going to be like in August. But anyway, we've got that to come. So I think everybody's starting to pray for September already.
This is Talking Balearics. Richie, what do you have for me this week?
What do I have for you? An agreement between the unions and the hotel industry, because there was a threat of strike action, which wouldn't have been great look for Mallorca, particularly in July, when it's peak season. So it looks like they've come to an agreement. We'll talk about that. Also want to talk about, obviously with people travelling, to keep a good eye on your passports, and your passport's running out of date, then nothing worse than not having your passport in date and not being able to get it renewed in time for you to go on holiday.
Yeah.
And also I've got a cow that has won a beauty pageant in I think it was Galicia. Yeah, it was Galicia in Spain.
How relevant is that to the Balearics, which out of interest?
Well, no, I just thought, because Spanish and everything else,
okay.
I thought it was great.
All right.
But I also want to relate it to another story that is,
right.
I promise you, a true story.
I get it.
And I did it many, many moons ago, and I just thought it would, bring a bit of lightheartedness to this week's blog.
I think you'll need it after you hear my subjects this week, Rich. Right? Okay.
Oh,
first
really?
of all, yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, there's been a study which has been very interesting into the habits of tourists in Ibiza. So I want to touch on that because there's some surprise. Well, there's not some surprises in there, but it's surprising that we have to say it all over again because it just shows you the habits of tourists are changing a bit. A little bit of Airbnb. We are in the Balearics. We're absolutely obsessed with Airbnb, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a bit of news on Airbnb, a little bit about the shanty towns. I was going to talk about this strike because I actually didn't read a lot into it, but I saw it online the other day. So I'm really glad that you've brought it up, Richie. So what have you got to tell me about this potential strike that's been foiled?
Well, basically, there was an agreement made yesterday, although it's yet to be ratified, but it looks like it will be ratified, between the hospitality industry, which basically are the hoteliers, and the unions that look after obviously all the workers within the hotels. A pay increase of 13.5% over 3 years. Someone's pay who's on around about 1,500 is going to go up to around 1,600, I think it is, over the first couple of years. It's pretty good news, I think, for the hostel. If you're part of the public sector, you're a public sector worker, it's great news for you. If you're a private sector worker, we'd all love 13.5% pay increase over 3 years, I think, to be perfectly honest. The UGT, which is the union, have backed down on its demand for reducing the working week from 40 to 35 hours, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
I just can't see how that would have worked, to be perfectly honest.
We touched on that before, didn't we? I thought that was a pretty stupid idea, to be fair, but hey-ho.
No, exactly. And I mean, it's good news because, listen, I go back to my time when I was repping, and there was a lot of industrial action around at that time, I seem to remember, and it's just not a good look anymore.
No, it's
do you
not.
know what I mean?
It's not at all.
Particularly when you're a 6 or 7 month, destination, and you've got workers who are striking because, all right, they're striking for fairer pay, but what is fair pay right now? And obviously, I understand. Because of the rise in inflation and the rise in prices of rentals, etc., that they have to get on the right footing. But as I say, you speak to people in the private sector, I'm sure they'd love a 13.5% pay rise.
A couple of points I'm going to pick up on with you, Richie. First of all, I think that sector is pretty underpaid anyway. I think over the years, it's all been minimum wage, hasn't it, really? Because it's cleaners and it's bar staff and it's cafeteria workers and things like that. And I think they've been undervalued. So I'm all for the giving us a couple €100 extra a month. I think that's great. What I would say about the wages and how it works over here in Spain is it's the social security, which is a killer, Rich. It really is. I was doing my social security figures the other day for a company that I'm an accountant for. The figures are just truly eye-watering. So, for instance, if you've got someone, you're paying them like 1,700 a month, which is about your basic wage now, you're paying nearly €800 in social security as an employer. So you're paying almost 40% of the salary, or more than 40% of the salary in social security, which is similar to the national insurance payments in the UK. And it's an untenable situation. And this is why employers like to not pay people too much money, because the social security is so expensive over here that the less they pay the workers, the less the social security they have to pay. So I think it's catch-22. But I'm for one. I would say agree with you, Rich. It's not a good look, is it? The red tops love all that kind of action, don't they? They love a headline saying "lazy Spanish workers on strike," where it couldn't be further from the truth. And secondly, we can crack on with the summer.
Yeah, and I think sort of just an added thing to the end of that is that let's just make sure that, having secured that 13.5% increase, that the service that these people give is second to none, because we want these people to return. That's the most important thing.
Richie, now we
I knew that would be the.
You triggered me there, haven't you? You triggered me.
I knew it.
I mean, can we agree that the service levels in the Balearics could be better? Can we just agree on that?
Yeah, I think, listen, depending on the places that you visit and frequent and everything else. But I think also the problem here is the inability for businesses to sack staff who don't, basically offer the service they should, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you know as well as I do, Mark, we've both been in this game over 30 years. How many hoteliers or how many hotel workers do you see working in the same hotel that you saw when you were repping 25 years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And they're only there because obviously, they're entitled to a big payoff if they get laid off.
I think the whole situation with the employment in Spain is I think it's tied in with the shanty towns as well, which I'll talk about in a bit. I think it all comes in together. Expensive to hire staff, expensive to live, expensive across the board. And it just, the system in Spain, I think, really needs shaking up. I think it's antiquated. I think it's 50 years out of date. And hopefully the next government, whoever that may be, it doesn't look like it's going to be Pedro Sanchez after all the hassle he's taken this week. And Francine Armengol as well, our ex-president of the Balearics as well, who is showing her true colours at the moment. So I just think it just needs looking at, it just needs knocking down and starting up again. So no, good one, Rich. That there's been a little bit of a study, just a local study. It doesn't look like it's national wise, but there's been a study by Ibistat, which is the statistics of the Balearic government. They've come up with something we all knew, but it kind of slaps us around the face like a wet fish. And that's the average stay in Ibiza these days is around about 3 nights. The hotels are saying they're full, but they're also saying that obviously midweek there's issues, because we all know that if you read the press that Tuesday is the cheapest day to fly these days, because nobody really wants to come Tuesday to Friday. Everyone wants to come Friday to Monday. So there's a little tip at home if you want there. But what's interesting is it's just saying about the profile of the client nowadays who comes to Ibiza. And I'm not sure whether this would actually apply to Mallorca, Rich, because I think you've got a little bit more of a more mature market, I think, because we're very much leveraged in the nightlife industry, and people come over for 3 days, go for it, have a little bit of madness, and then they go back again. But and they're saying that basically these days 7-nighters are the exception, not the rule anymore, which is amazing, really, because when we were working, mate, it was all 7 and 14 nights, wasn't it? But nowadays, and they're even saying that a lot of people now come for 1 night, which I can believe as well, because they literally come in early on the Saturday, they'll go out all day Saturday, they'll go out Saturday night and leave late on the Sunday and only have 1 night of accommodation. So things are changing. Another interesting point that they said was that April was very busy. like we said before. May was quite busy as well, and June just went down a little bit as well. So, they're just echoing what we're seeing on the streets. I mean, I think you said you were really busy over there in June, didn't you? But over here in June just tended to get a little bit quiet. So I think we all knew it anyway, but weekend breaks, the weekend offenders, as we call them back in the day, they're the ones who are coming over more now than ever before. And as I said, the 7 and even the 14 nighters, Rich, they're like dinosaurs. They're dying out very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to add to that, Mark, that according to a study by a group of Italian researchers, holiday rental properties in Palma, here in Mallorca, generate more income for their owners than any other Spanish city. Rent economics indicate there's an average gross income of 48,100 per annum for an apartment in Palma, whereas Barcelona will pull in 47,000 per year, and Ibiza 41,500.
Right.
They come into third place. Interestingly enough, though, the figures are based on data from analysts called AirDNA and are drawn from Airbnb listings, but they don't take into account whether these lets are legal or not.
I mean, that's ridiculous, Rich, isn't it? Because what they're saying there, they're advertising illegal rentals, aren't they, really? That's what they're saying.
Basically, yes. And what you have to take into account also is that apartment rentals or apartment holiday lets in Palma are actually illegal.
Illegal, yeah.
You can't rent a property.
I saw that headline. I was quite baffled by it, Rich, because what they're saying is
totally.
What they're actually saying is you get a lot of great return in Palma, but actually you're not allowed to do it. So
exactly. It's ridiculous.
It really is. It really is a bizarre headline. Also, I would say there, Rich, it doesn't surprise me that Palma is the best because, as we know, it's an amazing all-year-round resort, isn't it? I mean, in the winter, Palma's amazing, and you've got genuine. It's one of those big, major Spanish cities where the rest of Balearics aren't really. Unfortunately, Ibiza town. It's quaint. Don't get me wrong. In the winter, and Mahon is very nice in the winter, and Formentera is or San Francisco is very nice in the winter. But it ain't a big city, and Palma is a genuine big city where you can have a great weekend.
Yeah, Palma comes into its own at winter time, I believe, personally. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. No, and believe it or not, I've got a lot of friends who go to Palma out of season now. I mean, talking like November and March and times like that. So it really is a major city on the tourist trek. I'm glad you mentioned Airbnb. Good segue, Rich, because Ibiza or the Balearic government are cozying up to Airbnb a little bit, or more than they used to be, because up until maybe 3 years ago, Airbnb really was the dirtiest word on the block, wasn't it? If you mention it, Well, there's two dirty words in Balearics, mate, isn't there? One's Airbnb. What's the other one, Rich? Go on. I'm going to test you.
Too dirty.
I'm thinking about flop. I'm thinking about flop. Yes, there you go, Rich. There you go. They're the two words that trigger the Spanish all the time. Their hatred of Airbnb and Ryanair, it knows no bounds. Online now, compared to 2024, 2025, there's 1,000 less apartments being advertised. What the interesting stat of this is that the Balearics, especially Ibiza, have got together with Airbnb, and they've said, listen, they've got to have a touristic license number there. If not, you're going to pay the consequences. You're going to start fining Airbnb. So they've gone hard with Airbnb. Airbnb have backed down. They've got 1,000 less rentals. There's actually a mid-September deadline. So if you haven't put your license number in by September, your property is going to get taken off Airbnb, which I think is quite good as well. And another interesting stat about this, Rich, is that once Ibiza did that with Airbnb, Murcia followed suit, and so did the Canary Islands as well. So that they were following the lead, and also I think was it in Croatia as well. I think somewhere else went at it as well. So the Balearics and especially Ibiza have been the pioneer of saying to Airbnb, listen, guys, going back to what you just said about Palma there about renting apartments out. You can't have your cake and eat it. If it's against the law, and you're advertising an illegal apartment, you're going to pay the consequences, which, let's face it, where there's a housing crisis, problems on that front, then I don't think Airbnb should be advertising illegal rentals because it just goes against the grain. Yeah,
it goes against the overcrowding, really, basically, because, they're bringing in basically what you would call it not an illegal immigrant, but you know what I mean? It's basically, that's what it is. You know what I mean? You're bringing in people illegally to stay in a property that is illegal. And what would happen to that property if there was an accident as well to those people within that property? Yeah, I don't know what the comeback would be, but not great.
Okay, mate.
I think it's just worth pointing out, Mark. It's a very quick one, this one. To people that are travelling over in July and August. Obviously, quite a lot of people have probably saved up for quite a long time to come and come away in July and August. It's important that you get your passport details in order that you don't get turned away from the airport. Normally, the passport needs to have at least 6 months, I think it is, on your the date of that it actually runs out before you can actually travel anywhere. So it's really, really important that you do that beforehand and don't obviously leave it to the last minute to try and renew it, because this time of year, of course, there will be a backlog, I am sure, of people using it. And then I don't know if you do this, but I do it quite often. And I was trying to tell people about this the other days. I don't actually use my passport that much to travel anymore. I use my TIE card, which means I can sort of basically jump the lines. I jump the lines for UK entry, not UK entry, sorry, UK entry coming into Palma. And then when I'm leaving Palma as well, I just show my TIE card. So it's worth it. It's worth having. Government are pushing more and more expats who haven't got a TIE card to get one.
Yeah, and I mean we have a slight. I mean, it's slightly different over here, Rich, because we still have to queue up with the passport holders, but we show our TIE when we actually go with the passport, and we don't get it stamped. Yeah, so you show at the same time.
So you don't have two separate lines? One for Spanish and one for Brits. No,
we don't, Rich. It's really we have one general line for anybody going to the UK and coming in the same as well. But when you go there, you show your TI, they don't stamp you as well. So it's
exactly.
It's just I don't want to go over to you, mate, but if you're coming to the Schengen area, you must have an expiry date at least 3 months after the day.
3 months, okay.
The day you plan to leave the Schengen area. So it's not 6 months. Okay. And we don't want to be giving anyone the wrong advice, Rich.
No.
That's true. So we have an expiry date 3 months after the day you plan to leave the Schengen area. And this is the one that you can get caught out sometimes. The date which is less than 10 years before the date you arrive. Yeah, because that was catching people out before. So just check with gov.uk and have a look at if you're obviously not UK, if you're any other European, and just check with your government and just make sure you don't get caught out. Simple as that.
Definitely.
Let's do a little housing skit, Rich, because it wouldn't be the Talking Balearics if we didn't talk about housing, would it?
No.
We've got an interesting one because the Conseil of Ibiza said that they're pretty confident they're able to tackle the settlements, the illegal settlements, the shanty towns that we often talk about, but they don't seem to be doing anything, Rich, because it's stuck in, as surprise, stuck in the courts, which, as you know, could be 3 months, could be 6 months, could be 2 years as well. And the mayor of Ibiza town has come out this week and said, listen, if you've got a piece of land in the area, we suggest that you fence it off. Right, he's not said he's going to pay for it. So he said we suggest that you fence it off because that will stop people in settlements as well. So we've got the government saying that they've got it under control. However, I don't think they have, to be honest. You've got the Ibiza mayor asking people to fence their land off because obviously he's worried about more settlements as well. And at the meantime, Santa Eulalia on the east coast has just removed 3.5 tons of waste from illegal camping in the forest. So, the situation doesn't like it's getting any better. And I think the Balearic government, especially Ibiza Conseil, which is the island government, needs to get a handle on this, because reading between the lines, it looks like they are concerned about this situation.
Yeah, totally. And weirdly enough, actually, we were talking about
San Juan.
San Juan, and the amount of rubbish that was left on the beaches after San Juan. And you think to yourself, well, hang on a minute. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that was okay, Rich, because it's left by Spanish. It was fine.
Well, there you go. You see, that's the point, Mark. That is the point.
It's let's talk about the elephant in the room. If the British did that, the press every day, they'd be up in arms, wouldn't they?
Horrendous.
But because the local Spanish did it, it's nothing's mentioned, and it was a bit like the Glastonbury litter. Did you see that, Rich? I mean, all those eco warriors leaving around tons and tons of plastic.
Yeah,
I mean, it's bizarre.
All the celebrities who go out and tell you mustn't, you mustn't use the green gases. Are they flying on their private jets and get into big fuel swilling cars and everything else? It's ridiculous.
The madness of it as well. Right, okay, let's have a feel good story to finish it off, Richie. Come on.
So listen, this is not really Balearic story, but I did it this morning on the radio and I had a good laugh, and then I suddenly realised of something else that linked to this story. So a cow has won a beauty pageant in Spain after her bright and charming personality made her a favourite from the outset. Boneca, a 5-year-old bovine, because you can't say cow twice, of course, won this year's Miss Vaca, which is watched by more people in the area around Galicia than the Eurovision Song Contest, apparently. The heifer is said to be a Jennifer Lopez fan. How they know this, I don't know. and won 4 lively festivals, as well as cuddles from her owner, who's called Tamara Sobrado.
Right.
While the Spanish newspaper ABC complimented her charming personality, Miss Sobrado said Boneca is 1,100 kilograms of a Rubia Gallego cow and is very gentle. She also highlighted how she stands out with her horns and her head, and anyone who knows her says anything about cows will also stare at her too. So this reminded me of a true story, and I promise this is a true story, okay? A Spanish football team, I think they were quite a lowly Spanish football team and needed some money. So what they did was they got their pitch and they divided it into metre squares on their pitch, yeah? And they sold off every metre square. I mean, I'm going back in time to pesetas here, so that's how long ago this story was. And they sold them off. I can't remember, but it was quite a hefty amount of money. You know, every metre square was worth whatever. And they sold every single square off. And what they did was they let a bull loose on the pitch, and wherever the bull decided to empty its contents, if you know what I mean,
I understand,
into the winning square, that person won themselves a Seat Ibiza car. It's a true story.
No, I believe you.
Guess what the competition was called?
Oh, man, I wouldn't even like to guess.
It was called Caca La Vaca. And I promise you, it's a true story.
Vaca. You know, talking that, I've got to say, talking great that story. I had a lovely T-bone steak at Pike's on Saturday night. I've got to tell you that. Thinking about that, there you go.
Not unlike you to name drop, Mark.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And they did give me a nice discount, so I suppose that's not a bad little plug, is it? But well, you know what they say, Rich? They say the most beautiful calves come from the fattest, ugliest cows. You know that, don't you, Rich?
Well, I had friends. I don't think you want to repeat that, Mark. Friends over last week who were reading Tony Pike's autobiography, was it?
Autobiography, Mr. Pike, yeah.
Apparently very good book.
Very good. And I think it's perfect for our age group, Rich, which is obviously the 40 to 60 age group, because it really does resonate back to Ibiza from bygone age. So, but what was the cow's name again? Was it Ermintrude? Did you say it was Ermintrude?
But you're showing your age there. Ermintrude, blimey. Where was that from? Was that Play School or something?
No, that was Magic Roundabout, wasn't it? Magic Roundabout.
Oh, was it? Oh, yes, it could have been. Yeah. There's something else we should talk about one day, but I can't remember. I've lost the story now.
Okay, mate.
Look it up. It was in Galicia.
I'm going to get the Caca story up and put it on my Instagram feed very shortly.
Listen, and stop making up reels of jokes of me, by the way. You know,
did you like that one?
Funny. It's not very funny.
It made me giggle anyway, Rich, to be fair. So. Well, you do like your potatoes, don't you? Listen, you've got cows last week, so cows this week and potatoes last week, mate. You've got that little bit of farmer thing in you, haven't you?
What I was about to say, that I must have some Irish in me if I like the potato, Mark, because I do love the potato, but more of a crisp man than a potato man. But obviously, crisps are made from potatoes, so I must have some sort of Irish in me somewhere along the line. Yeah, definitely.
I promise I won't make a joke reel ever again, mate. Not until maybe Tuesday anyway. So,
I hear you're off again, Mark. You know, you're gallivanting off somewhere. Where are you going?
Yeah, I've got a little cheeky invite to Wimbledon. So on Wednesday, the 2nd of July. So we're going to send Scott. I don't know who's on yet. Well, it's the funny thing about Wimbledon. No one quite knows who's playing on a day-to-day basis. I was trying to check it out. It's all
you might get lucky. You might get Alcaraz. Actually,
I think we're going to. Yeah, I think because Alcaraz.
He's playing the Brit, isn't he?
I'm not sure, but and Draper's on last as well, so I'm going to spend the whole day there tomorrow. I look forward to it, and I've got the test match on Thursday, mate. So I've got a very English few days, Rich, which I'll talk to you about next week.
Cool, mate. Enjoy.
Thank you, mate. Good to speak as always.
And you take care, Mark.
Make me dance.